Hello, my name is Mike Gaines, and this is Home Gains. Today, we're going to talk about why your home won't sell. It's been on the MLS for 60, 90 days. The interest has gone away. Buyers aren't showing up, and you're wondering what's going on. Well, the most common thing you're going to hear from everybody is say, hey, you got to lower the price to get more buyers in there. And that may be a part of the problem, but you want to look at the other aspects of your listing, other things that are going on that aren't attractive to a buyer possibly looking at it online or when they show up to the property in person. So let's talk about some of the things you can do to make your home more sellable and more attractive to buyers. Well, the first thing you want to look at is your online presence. What does it look like? How are those pictures? That first picture is very important. When somebody gets a new listing or looks at property online, that's what they see is that first picture that you've put up. And that's the one that's going to intrigue a buyer to either want to see more about the property or to pass and move on to the next one. So make sure that that first picture you have is a great shot of the house. Make sure that all of the pictures you have online are great pictures and that the buyer is going to be intrigued about the property and want to see more. So it's really important to have a very strong online presence. The next thing you want to look at is what does a property look like when a buyer gets there? Is it in its best condition? Have you taken care of the lawns? Have you kept up the maintenance around the property? Have you picked up all the flyers, the leaves, the things that tend to blow around a property that's been sitting there for a while? If it's a vacant property, you want to make sure that you're maintaining it, that you're going by, so that if an agent brings a buyer over and something's happened, let's say the floors have gotten dirty or there's a problem, there's a leak, there's something going on, you want to be aware of that before buyers go out because they go in there, they see that, it turns them off and they leave, and you've lost that opportunity with that buyer. So make sure that if it's a vacant property or property that you're not at on a regular basis, that you're going by, you're making sure that it's being maintained and that everything is in good working order. You also want to look at the condition of the property. Maybe it doesn't look its best online or in person because there's vegetation and plants that need to be trimmed back. You need to take back some tree limbs to open up the view of the property a little bit more. Little simple things like that can help a lot. If you have areas around the side of the house or around the garage where a lot of debris and trash and things have collected over time and the sellers really didn't clean that area out, well, make sure that you clean those areas out, especially in the wintertime when it gets wet. It can get a damp and musty smell, and that's something that will turn a buyer off. They may think that there's mold or fungus issues, and it's a really simple way to clean up the property, make it look better, and make a buyer feel better about the property. You also want to look on the inside of your property. Once again, if it's a vacant property, make sure that when they walk in, it doesn't have any bad smells. Sometimes a previous owner or tenant could have been a smoker or had pets and left odors behind that are offensive to a buyer when they come in. If you walk into a property and you smell something, it's an immediate turnoff. So one of the ways you can deal with that is there's companies out there that can change the molecular structure of an odor. It's not legal to go in and put a whole bunch of Glade air fresheners in there and mask that smell. You really need to resolve the problem. So you go in, you change the molecular structure of the odor, it goes away, a buyer feels better, and you've done what's the right thing to do to get a property ready for the market. Another thing that's a real simple trick is if you have old carpets in a house, sometimes old carpets, they don't look good, they're dirty, and they retain bad smells from the previous tenants and owners. And so if you go to the corner of a bedroom and you pull up the corner of that rug and you look to see if there's like an old hardwood floor there that was originally installed when the home was built, that's a much better look to a buyer coming in than an old dirty carpet. So you pull those carpets up, you pull up those old tack strips, it helps clean up the property, makes it look better, and it also makes it smell better. If you go into the property and it's got old curtains, old blinds, old window coverings that are still there, take them down. That's going to help for a couple of reasons. They'll retain smells from the past of past tenants and owners again, and they also will brighten up the rooms. And if you take those blinds down prior to the pictures, it looks a lot better online. So these are some simple tips that you can do to improve the appearance of the home online and in person, and hopefully find a buyer that's interested to make an offer. One of the other things you want to consider is the timing of when you put your home on the market. Now, the ideal time for most sellers is sometime between February 1st and June 1st. That tends to be our busiest time for buyers. But you can sell your home any time of the year. But be aware of other events during the year. You certainly don't want to put your home on the market, let's say July 1st, where it is a few days before the 4th of July. And buyers aren't really interested in looking at properties. They're interested in going out with their family, celebrating the holiday, spending times with friends and family. So You're going to lose some of your buyers if you put your home on the market at the wrong time. Same thing goes for Christmas or Thanksgiving. So be aware of those holidays. Make sure that your timing is correct. You can sell your home at any time, but you want to see the optimal number of buyers coming through. So make sure that you put your home on the market at the right time. Another thing to keep an eye on is your competition. Look at the homes around the home for sale. Look at the ones that you use for your comps. See who was on the market at the time, who sold, what did they close for. You want to keep track of all those numbers and keep your seller informed of all of that. If a home around the corner that you use as a comp to your home went into contract, you want to let your seller know that. You want to follow that escrow and see what it sells for, if it went for more than asking or for less. If they close for less than asking, that's going to have an impact on your property. So keep an eye on all the listings around you, inform your seller about everything that's going on. So when the time comes and you need to talk about the price, it's an easier conversation because you've kept them informed about the other properties that they used as comps and how well they've done or how well they haven't done in the market. And this is a great way to gauge your property. Also, when you're looking at those comparisons, see what else has come on the market since you've come on the market. There may be properties that have come on that make your property not look so good, that they're a better value, they're a better location, maybe a larger property. So keep an eye on your competition. If it's a worst case situation where a lot of great properties come on the market and you no longer look like a good value, you may want to come off of the market for a short period of time, let those properties sell, then come back on the market, and hopefully you're going to catch a buyer who sees that your home is of value and they want to buy it. Make sure that your information on the MLS is correct. A lot of times agents will make comments or say things that aren't appealing to a buyer. They're not the type of words that you want to hear when you're looking for a home. We have a property in our neighborhood that just came up for sale that's been boarded up for years and years. And it finally has come on the market. All the agents are looking at it. But when you read the description, there's so much talk about requirements and the city's going to have to approve of this and this is going to have to be approved, that it looks like it's a very difficult property to close escrow on. So a buyer's going to be turned off by that. It's probably a great deal for somebody, but the way the descriptions are written up, it doesn't look like it's a very easy transaction to get into or get through. So make sure that the words that you write in your descriptions are a good way to describe the property, a positive aspect of the property. You want to make sure that a buyer is intrigued by the way it is described and that they're going to want to make an offer on that property and hopefully close a deal. Now, when you're working with an agent, sometimes a seller will work with an agent from out of the area, and that's fine. You want to work with an agent that you like and you trust. But when that agent enters your property that's in this area in their MLS system that may be in another county, the information isn't quite the same. It doesn't transfer over. We have reciprocating agreements with the other MLSs so that an MLS from another neighboring county or area can enter their information and it will show up on our MLS, but it's not quite the same. It's a little different. The font is a little different. The MLS number is a little bit different. And the information doesn't always transfer over in a way that it makes sense. One of the areas that I've really found some confusion in is if you have an ADU, an auxiliary dwelling unit. That information, for some reason, doesn't always transfer over correctly to our MLS. And it will increase bedroom counts and bathroom counts because it makes the property, it combines the two properties. Well, that's a problem when a buyer's looking at it because it's misleading. They're thinking that it's one type of home and it's not. And the buyers who are looking for that home would be disappointed when they show up because let's say they're looking for a 5-bedroom home and the ADU is 2 bedrooms and the house is 3 bedrooms. In reality, it's 2 units, but they get there anticipating a 5-bedroom home. Well, they're immediately turned off and they leave. It's not what they wanted. So make sure that if you're working with an agent who's from out of the area and they're going to enter your information into our MLS, that they join our MLS with a reciprocal agreement with something that it's not a very expensive because you've already got a primary membership at another MLS. Just join our MLS, enter the data for the property through our MLS, and that way it looks like all the other listings in our area and buyers will understand more about the property and be more likely to make an offer. Your home's been on the market for a while. You've gotten some feedback. What did the buyers say? What did the visitors say? What did they like and what they didn't like about the property? Maybe you need to address a few issues to make it a little more appealing, either through some of the steps we talked about earlier about the exterior or interior appearance, or it is that price. You need to talk about that as well. If your home is on the market and it's vacant, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good in the pictures, and it doesn't look good when a buyer goes there. It feels very cold. It feels very sterile. So you want to have some life in that property. You want to give the buyers some idea of what their furniture is going to look like, how things fit in the rooms. putting a bed in a bedroom makes that room look bigger, because then they can, in their mind, say, oh, my dresser will fit over here, my table will fit over here. So staging is really helpful. It's only about, to stage a home in our area is about $5,000. In our area, if we're going to talk about a price reduction, it's anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000. So that $5,000 investment in a stager goes a long ways in helping to improve the value of the property, the looks of it, the online presence, the pictures. And when a buyer comes through to see it in person, it looks a lot more like a home, not just an empty house that sounds like an echo when you walk through it. It's very cold. It's not very inviting. So staging, I highly recommend. If your home is vacant, get it staged. And at the same time, we talked about this a little bit earlier, get that landscaping cleaned up, get those shrubs cut back, get those limbs cut back, make it more open and bright. This looks good to a buyer. It really looks good online. It's really not that expensive. Most agents know handymen or gardeners that will do the work for a nominal fee. Work with them, get it done. It will look a lot better, and hopefully a buyer will see that as well. All right, when you have to have a discussion with your sellers about how we're going to get this home sold, a couple ideas that I have is I like to have a marketing agreement that we talk about what steps are we going to do about additional marketing, open houses, more exposure to the property to get some more buyers in there. Also, we're going to talk about timeframes, that if we don't have the interest that we want and we don't have the buyers coming through the property after a certain amount of time, let's say 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to talk about lowering the price. We're going to lower that price to a point where we're going to get more buyers in. When you lower the price, two things happen. Buyers that weren't able to afford that property originally are now in the range that they can afford it. You may drop it down into their search area. And then those buyers who came through previously may take a second look because they're thinking, hey, this is a better price. It may be more attractive to me. Let's go back out there and take a look at it. So pricing it is really important in getting those buyers back into the property or getting a new pool of buyers in the property to get it sold. One of the things that I like to talk to my sellers about is engaging interest is what's called secondary interest. So if a buyer goes through the property, they look at it and they talk to their agent and say, you know what, I like this property. Can you get more information? Can you get me a title report? Can you get me a home inspection? Can you get me information about what the seller's looking for? That's what I describe as secondary information. If we're getting secondary information, we're getting closer to a point where the buyers are going to make offers. So that's really key and important when we're pricing, that once we get to a point where we're getting that secondary interest, we're getting really close to what a buyer thinks is a good value for that home. Okay, so we've been doing work, we've been getting the home prepped. It's a good idea at the onset of this to take it off of the MLS, reset that days on market clock. If it takes 30 days to get it back to zero, sometimes that's worth it. Now, when you're going to put a property back on the market, you're not going to say new listing, you're going to say relist. And so you want to let people know that, hey, we've done some work to the property, we've cleaned it up, we've made some improvements, and we made a price adjustment possibly that's going to help attract buyers to the property. So make sure that you get that information out there. Buyers understand what you're doing, and it's a good value for them to come back and look at that house again. And remember, reach out to all the old buyers that had come through. Anybody who's shown interest in the property, reach out, see if they're still shopping around looking for a home. Let them know that you're still there, that you've improved the property, and the price is better. This may bring some of those old buyers who had shown interest early on to come back and make an offer and put a deal together. Well, I hope you found that information useful. It's a combination of price, condition, and presentation that sells a property. Make sure that you have all three of those lined up in the best possible position for your property and your sellers so that you can get that home into contract and get it sold. Once again, my name is Mike Gaines. This is Home Gains. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have any questions, send us an email. I'll be happy to talk to you further about today's episode or any real estate related questions. And also, we would ask you that you subscribe and like. Once again, my name is Mike Gaines. This has been Home Gains. Have a great day.